'Cause you can't, you won't, and you don't stop. Or when you can't, you won't, and you don't stop. Might be coming down for sure.
First and simplest form of business structure that we have is that of a sole trader. In a sole trader, it's where someone directly owns and operates the business. So this would be Gavin Nicholson. And just say I owned a chicken shop. Gavin Nicholson's chicken shop. I want to sell barbecue chicken, right? Well, then I would be a sole trader. I would operate under my own name. Now, I could still have employees. I could have someone who helps in the chicken shop. But the big thing is, just say I have this employee down here. Let's just say I've got the employee Amber who helps out in the chicken shop. So the issue here that we have to remember is there is a contract between Amber and Gavin because I am the legal entity, right? So my employment contract is not between Amber and the chicken shop. It's between Amber and I. Also, if I own the chicken shop, I've got to bring all the money in, right? So the only money is what I will be able to raise, either my savings, which is equity, what we call the equity in the firm, or I might be able to get a loan from the bank. But if I get a loan from the bank, it will be, again, Gavin Nicholson, Gavin's loan, not the chicken shop, not the chicken shop's loan. So that if the chicken shop can't pay it back, I have to pay it because it's really my loan. But what do I get out of it? Well, I can do everything I want in the chicken shop, within reason, within what's legal, right? But I get total control over the operation of the business and I get all the profits, right? So again, it's one where I get a high degree of control, but I have a high degree of responsibility. So a major issue is that a sole trader has unlimited personal liability. So that means if anything goes wrong in the chicken shop or it takes on debts, then I will have to pay it back. So for instance, imagine that Amber was negligent in the chicken shop and she injured someone somehow. Well, we know via vicarious liability, right, that I'm the employer-employee, and so therefore I, Gavin, will have to pay the damages for her negligence. Okay, that's what we mean by unlimited liability, right? So things can go wrong, not even a debt you take on, but then you're liable for what happens there. So that's a kind of pretty big negative in terms of running it. However, there are some positives, right? You don't really need to do anything. You just start running. That's all you need, and you can start running your business. So while there aren't any formal legal requirements, there is a requirement if you're going to operate it under a name. So if I was going to operate my chicken shop, say as Best Breasts Chickens, right? If I wanted to operate on that name, then I have to register that business name so that people know, Best Breasts Chickens is actually Gavin, right? That we need some way to regulate so we know who we're dealing with. And that's the way we do it through this Business Names Registration Act. So there can even be some requirements on a sole trader. We will also have requirements depending upon how big we are. If our turnover goes over 75 grand, then we start having to give GST back to the government on behalf of the Commonwealth. So there definitely are requirements on a sole trader, but they're a lot lower than on many other business forms. So here we have a summary of the advantages and disadvantages of a sole trader. So obviously, the more important the advantages are to you, the more likely you would choose this form. The more important the disadvantages, the more likely that you wouldn't, right? And often there may be one critical factor. For instance, liability that says, I don't want this form. But really you can only look at that by looking in totality at what the person setting up the business wants to do. So once again, those advantages are you have few formalities, full ownership, keep all the profits, only tax is your personal income tax. It's just like it's your money, because it is, it's your money that you're making. However, You are personally liable for all of the debts that occur, including vicarious liability. It might be hard to get capital. You might not have all the skills. It can actually be difficult to dispose of the business. What does that mean? Well, think about this. If I want to sell my chicken shop and I have stock, I have some equipment, I also have contracts with employees, I have a lease. Each of those contracts is a contract in my name. So that means each of those contracts have to be adjusted for the new owner. Whereas, right, if it were in the form of a corporation, right, which the corporation could enter those contracts, and so you could just sell the shares in the company and you wouldn't need to adjust all those contracts. So that's why it's more difficult. It's most often more difficult to actually sell a sole trader business. And strategically, it can be difficult to separate yourself from the business if you're at the heart of all the contracts. Okay, so that's sole trader. The next business entity that we want to look at is that of partnerships.